Hi, everybody. So today, actually, we're going to go through every single exit ticket. You see that there are some separate ones here that are already listed. Those have been sent to you, but I am going to make an overall one video going through every single lesson so that you can get most of this done as soon as possible. Um, and we're going to get through all of these and we're going to stop right here. Again, some of these you already have, and I'm going to go over it and tell you I need you to do these again and check those grades. If your name is in green, you do not have to do the lesson I'm describing. You could fast forward. So we're going to start with lesson 28. I think we did this live with me. So let's get into it right now. Let me reshare my screen and let's get into lesson 28. All right. Exit ticket reading, lesson 28. Let's get going. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to look at the online book from 129 to 213. And then we're going to answer view towards the strikers. So I'm going to copy and paste this. 199 to, no. 201, 200 to 201. So those are the two pages I'm going to read. Scroll all the way down, 200 to 201. Now, basically, to summarize the book is that you have Esperanza. Her mother is very sick. She takes over for working for her mom. And in the meantime, Marta is not been very nice to her. And Marta's family has lived there for a while and they're working on this migrant farm and they're not being treated fairly. So Marta and her friends start to protest, but protesting looks a little bit different on a farm. They're striking. And that's when you go against the bosses of the job and you say, I'm not working anymore because I feel like I'm being treated unfairly. I want to change. Like the role of a strike is to get a change to happen. But the only way to get a strike to work in your favor is if everybody else stops working too. Because the only way that the owners are going to listen to the people who are striking is if the people don't have any more workers. So Marta's kind of mad at Esperanza because she's still working. So let's look at what's said. I'm going to read the page before and then the page off. Oh, wait. Now we're on 192. No, I don't want that one. 200 to 201. All right. Asparagus. Marta was right. The strikers were more organized than ever. They handed out flowers in front of every store. They painted the sides of old barns with their slogans, held big meetings at the farm. For those who continued to work, there were still jobs. But Esperanza could hear the tightness and worry in her neighbors' voices. She worried too about what would happen if she didn't have a job. Understand that basically Marta gives up her job when she's striking. And there's only a need for her if there are no other workers. And she's worried because there's still jobs and so many people during the Great Depression are looking for jobs. Asparagus would be a long season, sometimes up to 10 weeks, but it had to be picked before the high temperatures touched the valley in June. Remind me to, well, you can't remind me, but I'm going to show you what asparagus looks like to pick it because it is such a bizarro vegetable to pick. The strikers knew that if they could slow down the workers, it would affect the growers. So when the tender stalks were ready, the strikers were ready too. Esperanza got on the flatbed truck with Hortensia and Josefina for the first day of packing. The company had sent a man with a gun to ride on the truck with them and protect them. Esperanza is frightened by the gun. When they arrived at the sheds, a crowd of women erupted, shouting and booing. They carried signs that said, "Huelga, strike." Among them were Marta and her friends, and they were yelling. Remember, Marta needs all the other workers to stop in order for the strike to work. Help us feed our children. We all must join together if we're to eat. Save your countrymen from starving. I think this is going to be important. When Esperanza saw their menacing, mean, scary faces, she wanted to run back to the safety of the camp, do laundry, clean diapers, anything but this. She wanted to tell them that her mother was sick. She had to pay the bills. She wanted to explain them about Abuelita and how she had to find a way to get some money to her, and she could travel, then maybe she'd understand why she needed that job. Oh, she's feeling torn, right? She wanted to tell them that she didn't want anyone's children to starve, but she knew it did not matter. The strikers only listened if you agreed with them. She reached for Hortensia's hand and pulled her close. Josefina marched towards the shed, looking straight ahead. Hortensia and Esperanza stayed close behind, never letting go of each other. One of the women from the camp called out, "We make less money packing asparagus than you do when you pick cotton. Leave us alone. Our children are hungry too." So some of the women who are working called back to the strikers saying, "We need the money. We are so hungry. We can't stop working." When the guard wasn't looking, one of the strikers picked up a rock and threw it at that woman, barely missing her head, and the workers all hurried towards the shed. So there's a lot of high tension here, right? The strikers strayed near the road, but Esperanza's heart was still beating wildly as she and the woman took their places to pack the asparagus. All day she sorted and bundled the delicate spears. She heard their chanting, outside the strikers chanting, and their threats. That night at dinner, Alfonso and Juan told how they had the same problems in the fields. Strikers waited for them, and they had to cross picket lines to get to work. Once in the fields, they were safe, protected by guards of the company. But the logs of asparagus were sent back to the sheds to be taken across the picket lines, and the strikers often slipped surprises beneath the harvest. All right, now let's go back to the exit ticket. So Esperanza's point of view towards the striker is, what is she feeling? I use the word torn, and let's explain why. So she feels torn. She feels, excuse me, sorry, I'm bad typing today. Feels blank for the strikers who gave up their jobs to fight for better pay, and that their children are starving. But the women who are working in the fields, I never spell field right. Never, guys. I am the worst at the IE rule. But the women who are working in the fields also have starving children to feed. So basically, we want to fill in this blank, right? But I want you to find me a quote where we are describing how Esperanza is feeling bad for each of these people, both the striker and the workers. So I'm going to go back to the text, and I want you to look on page, let me see if I can zoom out a little bit for you. Yeah, I highlighted this particular quote, which is really important. But why? So here's what the striker said, right? Help us feed our children. We all must join together for it to eat. Save your countrymen. This whole thing right here, any of this is going to be a great quote. I need you to pause the video and watch this here. I want you to find one quote that shows that Esperanza feels bad for the strikers and she feels bad for herself. It could be two different sentences. It could be one sentence, but I need you to tell me why she feels bad. So pause it here. Go back and you're going to put on page, what was this page? 200. And then I'm going to have you give me the quote. On page 200, it says, you give me the quote, this shows how, oh no, what happened there? Esperanza feels bad, shows how Esperanza feels bad for the blank and bad for the blank. Now, I'm going to read it through one more time. You guys fill in the blanks. Make sure you find the quote, then turn this in. It says, Esperanza's point of view towards the strikers is torn. She feels blank for the strikers. How does she feel? Bad, good. Who gave up their job to fight for better pay and that their children are starving. But the women who are working in the fields also have starving children to feed. The author uses what type of detail to show this? For example, on page 200, it says, you're going to find me a quote. Remember, I showed that to you. This shows how Esperanza feels bad for the blank. What does she feel bad for? And bad for the blank. Now I'm going to show you what asparagus looks like to pick it. I honestly, picking asparagus, swear to you, I was like, what? That's how asparagus grows? I picked it. There's a farm near my house. It grows like this. Do you see this? These little stalks, that is exactly how it grows. It is so crazy. It's just one stalk and it grows up. That's it. Isn't that crazy? It doesn't really grow like that, actually. I've never seen it grow like that. That other one was a better representation. Yeah, like this. Yeah, like in the dirt. Isn't that crazy? I don't know why I didn't think it was going to look like that. Yeah, this one's a good one. It looks like this. When I went to pick it, oh yeah, you know what else looks weird? Broccoli. You think? Oh my God. Yeah, it's just like little baby, like most of the time when you pick broccoli, it's like little tiny broccolis like this. They don't get big like the grocery store like this. They don't come out like that. When you go to the farm, it looks like this. And you're like, that doesn't look as appetizing. Isn't that crazy? All right, sorry. Finish here. Good luck. All right, we're moving on to the next exit ticket. Dun da da, exit tickets. All right, so Wilson and Rosalie, you should have done the exit ticket we just completed. Next, exit ticket, reading lesson 29.1. I sent this to you guys. I need you to check your grades or do this video. I don't understand why it's so low, these grades. Wilson 66, Rosalie 50. Let me make sure I'm sharing this screen for you. Yeah. Rosalie 50, Christian 0. I sent this video, watch it, do it, and it's fine. The next video is exit ticket, reading lesson 29.2. Wilson, you have a 40, Rosalie a 0, Christian a 68. So let's go on to that one, reading lesson 29, part 2. You share. All right. 29.2, 29.2. There we go. All right. So let's see what we have here. All right, Esperanza Rising, 234 to 253. Let's see what the question asks us. Oh, we're putting these in order. I feel like I did this with somebody. So basically, this is the whole book. So I will give you the first couple ones. We got to finish the rest by yourself. All right, so in the beginning, she loses, actually, I can just tell these events to you and then you guys can find it. That'll make it more fair and I'm not just giving answers. All right, so in the beginning, she's very wealthy. So look for where she says she's wealthy. And not yet. Yeah, she has a privileged life, means you're wealthy. So I'm gonna hold it and then move it to the top. This is the first thing that I remember in the book. All right, then somebody dies. Who dies? You're gonna find it, move it up. Then she has her uncle who wants to marry the mom, but she still has a house. Her mom and her grandma are still there. And then the house burns down. No. Then the dad dies, then the house burns down. And then she escapes. And they move to the United States. And they have to work in California on a migrant farm. She has to learn how to do chores. She works to save money when her mom gets sick. Or maybe her mom gets sick first and then she works to save money. Then Miguel steals the money, but at the end, Miguel brings Abuelita home. Okay, that's it. Hey, I gave you the answers. You just now need to put them in order, okay? All right, then number 3, somebody wanted to, but so. Actually, I don't think I need to help you guys with this because you can just use this as an example. You literally can just be like, in the book, Esperanza first rose up with a privileged life and then give examples. Then she loses her father. Her father dies and her house burned down. They have to escape to the United States. Like, just go through the story that's here and then write it up on the next page. I'm not going to help you guys with that one because I think you can do it. You just need to use number 2. Okay. All right. Let's see what's next. On to the next exit ticket. Whoop, whoop. All right, so you guys should have done 3 exit tickets so far for revision. Wilson, congratulations. You can take a snoozer, fast forward to through the next couple because you have 100s. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna do exit ticket building background. So I'm gonna exit out of this bad boy. Make sure I'm sharing my screen. Exit ticket background. There we go. All right. So I'm going to preview this. Start new attempt. Oh, there's 2 videos. I do remember doing this with Wilson. All right, let me share my screen. We're going to watch these movies together. Before we do, always look at the question so you know what you're looking for. Oh, it's really just like a summary. Okay. So we really got to pay attention. Okay. We'll watch the first one together.
Welcome to Kids Academy.
Hello. Let's get started on the lesson. Jamestown was the first English settlement in North America. A settlement is a colony or a small community of people. English settlers began their journey from London in December of 1606. They traveled aboard 3 ships: Discovery, Susan Constant, and Godspeed. The Discovery was the smallest ship, while the Susan Constant was the largest. These ships carried nearly 150 people on a voyage to North America. A voyage is a long trip taken by sea or air. The English settlers were in search of new land. First, they stopped at the Canary Islands for water and rest. They also made a stop at the Caribbean islands. Finally, after 4 long months, they reached America in April of 1607. They would soon begin to explore land in Virginia. Jamestown was the perfect location for a new settlement. It was surrounded by water, which made it easy to escape from attacks by boat. The area was also uninhabited, which means that no one lived there. While Native Americans lived in nearby areas, Jamestown was free to colonize. The settlers' long voyage had finally come to an end. Let's review. Jamestown was the first English settlement in North America. A settlement is a colony or a small community of people. English settlers went on a 4-month voyage from London to America in 1606. A voyage is a long trip taken by sea or air. They selected Jamestown because it was uninhabited and surrounded by water. An area that no one lives in is uninhabited. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
All right, guys. I'm gonna stop this and we're gonna go to the next video.
Explorers discovered America in the 1400s, and they came back saying there was a lot of land and gold there. European countries soon went back and claimed land for their own. More land meant more power. England wanted more power, so they sent settlers to America to set up a colony. The first 2 colony attempts failed. Settlers tried to settle Roanoke, and the first time they came home because they had a hard time farming and surviving the winter. The second time, settlers tried to make a life in Roanoke, but after a supply ship returned to America, they discovered the settlers had mysteriously disappeared, and it still remains a mystery to this day. The third and only successful attempt was Jamestown, which was in the area we now know as Virginia. The area they settled was named Jamestown after King James I in England, who gave the Virginia Company of London the charter to settle in the New World. Settlers chose the area of Jamestown for its deep waters for docking their ships and fresh water for fishing. It was also a good location for fighting off the American Indians if they needed to. The settlers of the Virginia Company of London landed on May 14, 1607. There were 104 people, just men and boys. There were blacksmiths, bricklayers, some carpenters, 2 surgeons, and laborers. The first thing they did was build a fort with 3 watchtowers. Inside the fort, they built a church, storehouse, and houses. After building a place to live, they set out to look for gold. The gold was supposed to be a source of trade for the settlers so they could get supplies from England for building their lives in America. But unfortunately, they found none. Then they tried making glass and silk and milling lumber, but none of these proved to be very fruitful. While they were trying to find a way to make money, many of the colonists died. By January 1608, only 38 out of the 104 men and boys were still alive. Many died from illness or hunger. That same month, the fort and most of their supplies burned in a fire. The colonists decided to try to make friends with the Powhatan Indians, but things didn't go too well. Their best hope was when Captain John Smith became friends with a Powhatan woman named Pocahontas. In spite of the friendship, the colonists and the Powhatan never quite trusted each other. The story of Jamestown is one of survival. There was a lot of struggle, but over a few years they found success. The settlement didn't go as planned, but it still began English rule in America.
Okay, we'll stop that one. All right, so we watched these. We can look at the flip book as well. Okay, it has John Smith. It has colonizer. These are settlers moving to a new place. Native Americans, they don't like to be called Native Americans. I've recently learned you should just call them natives because not everyone believes that they're American. That's a name that white settlers put on them. Colonizers came to the New World on settlements, and they built this on native land. They stole the land from them. But also natives believe that land is free. So the idea of stealing doesn't necessarily, it's okay. All right, where is the New World? It's North America. How did people get to the New World? They came by ship. What was it like in the New World? Harmony, they worked together. Harmony, small things grow. Why did people come to the New World? They came for gold and religion. Hard work. Most of the men that came to Jamestown came from rich families and they did not know how to work hard. Who was Captain John Smith? He was one of the leaders and he helped the men build houses and a church. Where did people live? They covered twigs and planks with mud and wall, and their roof was made out of straw or grass. What did they eat? Corn, fish. They needed to work or they would not eat. A rough winter, the crops did not grow well. Many people came sick and died. Food for the future, Captain John Smith went to the native people for food and seeds to plant corn, squash, beans. That's known as the Three Sisters, corn, squash, and beans. Those things grow really well. How did Jamestown grow? Several women came to Jamestown and they had children. Every year, more people came to Jamestown, and it was the first long-term settlement. As more settlers came, they burned native villages and destroyed their crops. And now this is part of Virginia. Natives have lived on the land since forever. They work hard to keep their culture and music and food and language and ceremony alive. Okay. But most people have lost their original ancestral land because they were driven out. All right, friends, are you ready to go on to the exit ticket? All right, blank was the first settlement. All right, we were just learning about Jamestown. A settlement, is a colony or a small community of people. All right, I gave you the first sentence, now it's your turn. English settlers went on a 4-month voyage from where? English settlers, where did they come from? To America in 1606. A blank, a voyage, maybe, is a long trip taken by sea or air. They selected Jamestown because it was uninhabited and surrounded by water. An area that no one lives in is, in 1606, blank, King James sent 100 men on an exploration to the New World. They would set sail to find blank. They would set sail to find, oh yeah, what were they looking for when they came to a new country? As well as a water passage to the Pacific. Like what material do they want? What object did they want from America? They landed in Virginia and had very bad, any word that means bad. Jamestown is what they named the colony, but the native people already lived there. The tribe was called the find it, and they didn't want the British men staying there, so they attacked until they started trading, and trading helped settlers survive starvation and disease. Blank led them through this challenge. So who helped work deals with the Powhatan? All right, friends, finish up. Make sure you go through that and you answer the questions. All right. So let's see what's next. So we just went through building background. Wilson had 100. He didn't have to do it. Rosalie needs to complete. Christian, you need to complete. Exit ticket, foundational lesson. Wilson, you have another 100. Air high five. Rosalie and Christian, you both have 0, so we're going to need to do this part as well. So, exit ticket, building background, foundational lesson. All right, this is the one. All right, start new attempt. Ooh, more videos. All right, so we're gonna watch all of these. Let's see what kind of question we are looking for. Some key ideas. Oh, really? It's just one sentence. You just have to write, what did we learn from the videos? And then, wait, what are some ideas you learned about the text? All right, Oniva, let's start with this one.
Can you imagine leaving your home and traveling across the ocean to an unexplored new world? This is exactly what happens to 11-year-old orphan Samuel Collier in the novel Blood on the River, Jamestown, 1607, a 2006 novel by Eliza Carbone. The story is told through Samuel's perspective as the author introduces readers to well-known historical figures, including John Smith, Chief Powhatan, and his daughter Pocahontas. Amid famine, war, mutiny, and other conflicts, the novel covers the founding years from 1607 to 1610 of the Jamestown colony in Virginia through the eyes of young Samuel. Blood on the River opens in London, England in 1606. Following his mother's death, Samuel lands at an orphanage run by Reverend Hunt. The Reverend chooses Samuel for an important task. They join a mission for the Virginia Company, a commercial organization seeking riches and opportunity in the New World. Gentlemen officers and common laborers sign 7-year contracts with the company. Reverend Hunt is a missionary hoping to spread holy Christian teachings. Samuel is appointed to the position of page or servant to Captain John Smith. Smith is a criminal with a rough past who has joined the expedition in hopes of starting a new life in the New World. Since Captain Smith bridges both gentleman and commoner classes, he is uniquely able to appeal to the colonists as a political ally. But the officers consider Smith a liar and a traitor. Smith is put in chains on several occasions and sent to the gallows more than once. Samuel, Hunt, and Smith board the flagship Susan Constant and, in the company of the Godspeed and the Discovery, begin their transatlantic voyage.
Okay. So we learned a little bit about what the beginning of the book was going to look like. Now let's learn about the Powhatan.
The Powhatan Confederacy is the name of a group of Native American tribes that were very powerful during the 17th century in the area now known as Virginia. The Confederacy rose in power under the leadership of Powhatan. They were also among the first Indians to have to deal with European colonists settling in their land. The Powhatan Confederacy is a good example of how Indians reacted to colonists and how the colonists reacted. The Powhatan Confederacy was made up of at least 30 Algonquin-speaking Native American tribes that used to occupy the coast of Virginia, Chesapeake Bay, and southern Maryland. This confederacy was formed by Wa-on-Sonnecock, otherwise known as Powhatan, the powerful chief of the Powhatan tribe. Powhatan's father was chief before him and had been driven north to the Virginia area by the Spanish colonists. Once there, he took over at least 5 other Indian tribes in Virginia. When Powhatan took over after his father's death, he formed the Powhatan Confederacy to create a union rather than focusing on merely subjugating the other regional tribes. The Powhatan Confederacy was also called the Virginia Algonquin. Some of the other major Indian tribes in the Confederacy besides the Powhatan were the Arohatek, the Appomattox, the Pamunkey, the Chickahominy, and the Mattapony. The tribes of this confederacy gave mutual military support as well as paid taxes to Powhatan in the form of food, animal furs, copper, and pearls. There were at least 200 settlements in the region, many of which were fortified by palisades. The villages were near fields, where the women farmed corn, beans, squash, and other vegetables. The men focused on hunting, fishing, and warfare. The tribes of the Powhatan Confederacy were the first Indian tribes to make contact with the English settlers at Jamestown Colony in 1607. Since Jamestown was in the Powhatan lands, the Confederacy tribes were greatly affected by the arrival of the English. From the very start, the relationship between the Jamestown settlers and the Indian tribes was very strained.
Okay. Let's watch the next one.
In all of American history, there are few figures as colorful and questionable as Captain John Smith. Smith helped establish the first permanent English settlement in America at Jamestown in the early 1600s. But historians have found it difficult to separate fact from fiction in key events from Smith's 2 years there, especially the story for which he is most famous, his rescue by the Indian princess Pocahontas. In the spring of 1607, Smith arrived in Virginia with about 100 other colonists. Their goal was to settle the territory and make money for the Virginia Company. But within a year, they were in trouble. Food and water had run low, they were living in temporary shelters, and there was lots of tension with Indian Chief Powhatan, who ruled the territory. To turn the fortunes of the settlement around, John Smith took action. He instituted a harsh form of rule and is said to have told the settlers, "He that will not work shall not eat." His policies worked and life improved at Jamestown, but the colonists hated Smith because of his strict rules. Smith spent time mapping the Chesapeake Bay and told stories of leading excursions deep into Powhatan territory. According to Smith, on one of these excursions, he and his crew were captured by the Powhatans. Chief Powhatan executed all of Smith's crew with blows to the head. When it was Smith's turn to die, Chief Powhatan's 10-year-old daughter, Pocahontas, rushed forward and begged her father to save Smith's life. In some accounts, she even held his head to prevent it from being clubbed. Did Pocahontas save Smith because of love? Hollywood sure thinks so, but historians aren't so sure. Some believe that Pocahontas' actions may have been part of a ritual to make Smith part of the Powhatan tribe, restoring peace between the Virginians and the Powhatans. Others wonder if Smith's story ever even happened. By late 1609, Smith was forced to return to London due to a gunpowder injury that needed treatment. Jamestown sure missed his leadership. A severe food shortage fell upon the colony. Settlers ate rats, dogs, and many turned to cannibalism to survive. But it wasn't enough. 80% of the Jamestown population died during what became known as the starving time. The colonists were ready to abandon Virginia, but survived only after a new group of settlers arrived and began cultivating tobacco for sale in England. John Smith made one last journey to North America in 1614. This time he sailed further north, looking for fishing and fur trading opportunities on the coasts of what are now Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine, calling it New England. Just 6 years later, the Pilgrims founded Plymouth Colony along that same coast. And in 1630, inspired by Smith's reports, the Puritans established the Massachusetts Bay Colony. So, who was John Smith really? History may never know for sure, but as Smith said long after his travels, building a colony requires all the best parts of art, judgment, courage, honesty, constancy, diligence, and industry, even to do near well. In all of American history, there are few figures as colorful and questionable as Captain John Smith. Smith helped establish the first permanent English settlement in America at Jamestown in the early 1600s. But historians have found it difficult to separate fact from fiction in key events from Smith's 2 years there, especially the story for which he is most famous, his rescue by the Indian princess Pocahontas.
All right, so you guys have watched this a couple of times now, so I want you to fill in one fact that you have learned. Please, thank you so much. One fact, one sentence. If you want, you can watch these as well. All right, now looking at our paper here, we have completed one whole page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Now you'll get another video. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll get another video with 2 more videos tomorrow. I thought I could do this all in one and I could not. Sorry about that. So we're going to stop our share and end this video. Thank you so much. Bye.